Hi guys, and welcome back to Aisha.Academy. So this is again the June 2017 higher Edexcel papers. I've done paper 1 and paper 2 and now on to paper 3. So let's get right into it. Okay, so with question 1, we've got a Venn diagram and it wants us to work out the probability of oh wait, before it even wants us to work out the probability, it just wants us to complete it. Let's complete it. So it says, so if I label this as A, label this as B. So A has 3, 9, 15, 21, 27. B has 5, 15, 25. So remember with Venn diagrams, if they both contain the same number, they're going to go in the middle. So they both have a 15. So 15 would go in the middle. And so because it's 15 gone in the middle, we remove 15 on their side. And then it also says the E bit. So the E bit means the numbers on the outside of the Venn diagram. And it basically says odd numbers less than 30. So it's the odd numbers less than 30 that are not within A or B. So I would literally, to make sure that you don't miss anything out, start from your odd numbers from 1. So 1 is not there, so 1 would go on the outside. 3 is there, so 3 wouldn't go there. 5 is already there. 7 is not there. 9 is there, 11 is not there, 13 is not there, 15 is there, 17 is not there, 19 is not there, 21, so just put commas to separate it, 21 is there, 23 is not there, 25 is there, 27 is there, and 29 is not there. So these are the odd numbers you should have on the outside. So that's the Venn diagram complete. Then it now says what is the probability that the number is in set A, and then it's got this U-shaped sign B. So remember, U means or. So just to translate, it means a number that's A or B. So if it's A or B, it means in the all the numbers included in A, B, and the middle. So in total, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers in A or B. Because it's out of, so we need to count how many numbers there are in total. So there's including the ones on the outside. So we know there's 7 within the circle. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it'll be 7 out of 15. We cannot simplify that fraction. So that's your final answer. Okay, so moving on to question 2, simultaneous equations. So with simultaneous equations, you basically, which I do have a video in the link above, you basically want to make sure either the x's or the y's are the same and take them away from each other. So this one's really nice. The x's are already the same. So that is going to save us stress. So because of that, we don't even need to convert or change any of the equations. Just go straight into taking them away from each other. So doing that, the x's would cancel out. Y minus 4y, remember 2 minuses together ends up as a positive, so it'll be y plus 4y, which would be 5y, and then minus 4 minus 6 would be minus 10. So then to work out what y is, divide both by 5, which would leave you with y as minus 2. Now we know what y is. We're going to substitute that into one of the equations. So I'll substitute it above because in this y, there's no number next to it, so I don't need to do any extra maths. So then 3x minus 2 is equal to minus 4. Now we need to solve this to work out what x is. So 3x would be equal to, so add 2 to both sides, minus 2. And then x would be equal to minus 2 over 3. Okay, so moving on to question 3, it wants us to work out the median dress size. So remember, median is middle value. So median, middle. So because of that, we've got 25 different women. So to work out the middle of 25, aka to work out the median, you always do n, which is your total number, plus 1 divided by 2. So we're going to do 25 plus 1 divided by 2. So 26 divided by 2, which is 13. So we're looking for the 13th number. So it wouldn't be there. So 2 plus 9 is 11. So we've got 11 in total. So the 13th number would be within dress size number 12. So therefore, that is our median. And then having a look at part B, it says 3 out of 25 women have a shoe size of 7. And it says, Zoe says that if you choose at random out of the 25, the probability that she has a shoe size of either 7 or a dress size of 14 is 9 over 25. So because it's an or probability, it's 2 events that can happen at the same time. Therefore, we wouldn't add the probabilities together, we would multiply. So the reason why Zoe is incorrect is because you would multiply. And the reason why you multiply is because she could technically have a dress size of 14 and she can have a dress size of 7. And adding up the probabilities does not take into account of the woman having both a size 7 shoe and a size 7 dress. So no, because this does not take into account Zoe having a size 7 shoe and size 14 dress. Okay, so on to question number 4. So question number 4, Daniel bakes 420 cakes. That's a lot of cakes. So 2 out of 7 of the cakes are vanilla, 35% of them are banana, and it's giving us a ratio of lemon cakes to chocolate cake. It basically wants us to work out how many lemon cakes Daniel bakes. So break it down bit by bit. So to work out his vanilla cakes, so 2/7 of 420. So because this is again a calculator paper, you can just stick this into your calculator to work this out. Or another way of working it out, so for vanilla, 2/7 of 420 into your calculator, that should give you, so to work it out in your calculator, you do 2/7 times 420. And that should give you 120. So we've got 120 vanilla cakes. It says banana is 35%. So to work out the amount of banana, you want to work out 35% of 420, which you could put into your calculator 0.35 times 420, or you can do the whole 420 divided by 100 times 35. And that should give you 147 of banana. So then now we know that the ratio from lemon to alpha lemon to chocolate is 4 to 5. So he bakes vanilla, banana, lemon, and chocolate cakes. So to work out the total of lemon and chocolate cakes, you would do 420, take away the total of vanilla, which was 120, take away the total banana, which was 147, which would leave you with 153. So you know in total, lemon and chocolate is 153 cakes. So to work out what one part is equal to, you would add the two numbers in the ratio together, which would be 9. You do 153 divided by 9, which should be 17. So we know one part is equal to 17. So to work out lemon cakes, lemon cake has 4 parts, so you do 17 times 4, which will give you an answer of 68. You don't need to work out the chocolate cake because it's not asking us to. Rub that out. Yeah, it's not asking us to work out the chocolate cake, so you don't need to do that. But if you want to, go ahead. So that final answer is 68. All right, so on to question 5. Question 5, it's given us a regular 12-sided polygon, where this tricks a lot of people because people will be like, well, hold on, there is no 12-sided polygon. They basically cut out some of the shape, and I guess they do this to confuse people. But anyways, they want us to show that polygon P, so again, polygon P should be a hexagon. So if it was realistically complete, it would be like this, because the hexagon has 6 number of sides. So polygon P wants us to show that it's actually a hexagon. So in order for us to do that, let's look at the regular 12-sided polygon. So I've got a video on angles and polygons and link above if you need to do a revision of that first. So in order to work out an exterior angle, so the exterior angles of a regular polygon, you always do 360 divided by number of sides. So for the 12-sided polygon, the exterior angle would be 360 divided by 12, because there's 12 sides, which would be 30 degrees. So to now work out the interior angle, as recap, interior angle of a regular shape is 180, take away your exterior angle. So that would be 180, take away 30, which would leave us with an interior angle of 150 degrees, meaning that all these angles would be 150 degrees. So now that we know that, in order to work out what the angle is in polygon P, the interior angle of polygon P, we know that there's squares on either side, and the angle in a square, all the angles in a square are 90 degrees. So we've got 150, we've got 90 degrees, and we know that a total circle is 360. So to work out the angle in polygon P, it would be 360, take away 90, take away 150, which if you put that into your calculator, you should get 120. So the interior angle in polygon P is 120. So to work out the exterior angle in polygon P, you would do if you know the interior angle already, so exterior angle would be 180 minus 120, which would be 60 degrees. So if our exterior angle in polygon P is 60 degrees, to work out the number of sides of this polygon, we would just rearrange this formula. So the number of sides rearranging this formula would be 360 divided by your exterior angle, which is 60 degrees, which is 6. And because it's got 6 number of sides, we know it's therefore a hexagon. Therefore, P is a hexagon because a hexagon has 6 number of sides. Okay, so going on to question 6. So question 6 is to do with density, mass, and volume. So it wants us to work out the density of this drink that is made. So you've got density of apple juice, fruit, syrup, carbonated water. And basically mix certain amounts of this together to make this drink. And it wants us to work out the density of the drink. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw the equation triangle of mass, density, and volume. Please memorize this. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to work out the total mass. So in order to work out the total mass in this drink, we need to work out the individual mass of each part that's added. So mass of apple juice. So mass of apple juice based on this formula is going to be mass is equal to density times volume. So the volume of apple juice added was 25. The density is 1.05. Put that into your calculator, you should get 26.25. Then the mass of fruit syrup would be the density, which is 1.4, times the volume that we added of fruit syrup, which says 15. So that would be equal to 21. And then the mass of water would be 0.99, because that's the density, times the volume of water added, which was not 320, it was 280. Put that into your calculator, you would get an answer of 277.2. So to work out the total mass, we need to add all those numbers together, and that should give you, into your calculator, 324.45. So now we've got total mass, we need to work out total volume. Because remember, we need that component as well in order to work out total density. So total volume is literally 320 because it's told us. So we know the total volume of the drink, we know the total mass. The last step is to work out the density, the total density, which density based on this formula up above, the formula triangle, density equals mass over volume. So the mass is 324.45, volume is 320. So 324.45 divided by 320 give you an answer of 1.01 grams / centimeter cubed. Okay, so just put in the answer box. Okay, bro. Alright, so moving on to question 7. Question 7, it wants us to work out the length of AB. We've got an angle, we've got a right angle triangle. Remember, if your exam question gives you a right angle triangle with lengths involved and angle involved, you're thinking SOHCAHTOA. So SOHCAHTOA. So first step is you want to label your OAH. So H is always the length opposite the right angle. O is always the length opposite the other angle, or opposite. A is the line adjacent to both of those angles. So we can see that our H is 15. We've been given that. We're working out the length AB. So we're working out our O. So we're looking for the one with O and H in it, which is so. So is the same as saying sine the angle. So in this case, the angle is 23. So sine 23 is equal to O over H. O we don't know. H we know is 15. Rearrange this to work out what O is. So O would be 15 times sine 23. Put that into your calculator, and to 3 significant figures, you should get an answer of 5.86 centimeters. Okay, good. So moving on to question 8. Question 8, it says that we have a square with size length x centimeters inside a circle. So if I draw it again, with questions that are worded, it's always nice to sketch it out so you have an idea of what is going on. So we've got a square inside the circle, and each vertices of the circle is on the circumference. Remember, the vertices is here, hitting on the circumference of the circle. It says the area of the circle is 49 centimeters squared. So it wants us to work out the value of x being the length on the square. So first things first, we know the equation for area of a circle is pi r squared. So pi r squared is equal to 49. So we're going to use our calculator to work out what r is, the radius. So r squared is equal to 49 divided by pi. So our radius is the square root of 49 over pi. Put that into your calculator, you should get 3.949, so on. So that answer of your radius. Now, looking at this square within the circle, the radius is from the center of the circle to the circumference. So we know that is our radius, right? Notice now we've kind of formed this triangle with the radius. So first of all, we would know that this would form 90 degrees. And how we know that it's formed 90 degrees is because it's formed that perpendicular shape. So we've got this triangle, it's got a 90 degrees, we know what the radius is, so then to work out what the other length is, we can just simply use Pythagoras. There's no angles involved in this, except 90 degrees, but that doesn't really count because with Pythagoras, you would still have 90 degrees because it's to do with right angle triangles. So to work out the missing length, because this missing length that we're trying to work out using Pythagoras is opposite the right angle, that is going to be our C. And then we'll label our A or B. So remember the formula for Pythagoras, which I've got a video in the link above. If you need to revise that, is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So that would be, so it will be our radius squared. So the 3.94 dot 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 squared plus 3.94 dot 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 squared. I'm just putting dot 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 so I'm not writing the full number, equals c squared. So c squared would be equal to 31.194 roughly. So then to work out what C is, you would square root that and you should be left with 5.59 if it was to three significant figures, which is what they want. So that is the final answer for that question. Okay. Question 9, we got a bit of box plots. So I've got a video on box plots in the link above if you want to do, if you want to refresh your memory on those. So here it wants us to work out the interquartile range. So remember, interquartile range is basically your upper quartile, take away your lower quartile. And from the box plots, upper quartile is here, the top of the box, lower quartile is here, the bottom of the box. So in order to work out that range, our upper quartile value, based on, if we look at the reading of the graph, which is there, is 330 because each little box is 20. It's halfway through, so 330. Our lower quartile, however, is 150. So 330 take away 150, put that into your calculator, 180. So 180. And then if we have a look at part B, it's given us another table. So it's given us information of distributions of amounts spent by females on their holiday. The first graph, we look above. So I'm just zooming out so you can see. So the first one, we're comparing males. This one is comparing female. And it just wants us to draw a box plot for the data for the females. So let's have a look. Okay, so the smallest value, which is the lower end of the whisker, so it's like that part on the male one. So for the female one, is 60. So now we're just going to draw 60. So I'm just zooming in. So we're going to draw 60 then. The lower quartile is 180. So I can connect those two together now. The median is 300. The upper quartile is 350. And the largest value is 650. Okay, that is my rough sketch. Okay, so part C is now saying the box plots show that the females spent more money than the males. So let's have a look at the box plots and zoom in. So females look at the median of the females. So the median of the females is 300. The median of the males is 250. So having a look at this data, yes, if you base it on average, then yes, you could say because the median spent by the girls is more. However, if you're now looking at in terms of girls spend more money, the highest value that a guy spent was 750 and the highest value that a girl spent was 650. So to be honest, in terms of your answer, they would not mark you wrong if you say yes or mark you wrong if you say no, because there's reasons for both. But the most important thing is you need to give your supporting reason. So if I say no because the median is high for the girls and the than the boys, then they're going to be like, well, your reason does not support your answer. So either way, you would get the right answer if you give a valid reason supporting your answer. So because I'm going to compare the medians, I'm going to say yes, because the median for the females is 300, whereas for the males, it was 250. So it was more for females. Okay. So looking at question 10 is looking at compound interest. Link above if you want to watch video for quick revision. So Niobe invests £6,000 for 5 years, and the investment gets compound interest of X%. So it says at the end of 5 years she gets £8,029.35. So this time we're not working out the end, we're working out the actual interest rate, which is really interesting because there's not many times you come across this in an exam question. So in order to actually, if we were to hypothetically have worked out, so normally if we were to work out the interest rate, it would be 6,000 times whatever the rate is, so I'll just call it X, because that's what they've called it, to the power of 5. So in this case, it's £8,029.35. So to work out what x to the power of 5 is, we need to divide by both sides by 6,000. So divide 8,029.35 by 6,000 into your calculator. You should get 1.33825. So now to work out what x is, you want to work out the root to the 5 of that. And in your calculator, you should get 1.059999 So then now that we've got that, to work out what the actual rate is, we know with compound interest, whatever we multiply by, it's always 1 point the rate divided by 100. So if we take away this from 1, you end up with the 0.0599. Okay. Because it's usually divided by 100, times that by 100, so 0.0599 recurring, times by 100, you would get 5.99, the recurring. So then that would roughly estimate to 6%. So it would be a 6% value of x. Okay, so go into question 11. So question 11, it's basically saying Jeff is choosing a shrub and a rose tree for the garden. At the garden centre, there are 17 different types of shrubs and some rose trees. So there are 215 different ways to choose one shrub and one rose tree. Could Jeff be correct? Well, let's have a look. So he's saying there's 215 ways, but there are 17 different types. So if you do the how many different ways divided by how many different types, you get 12.64. And the problem is that this is not a whole number. So because this is not a whole number, therefore, then there aren't 215 different ways. Because if it was a whole number, then yes, you could say that there are 215 ways. But because no, the number, so this number is equal to the number of rows trees. So what we've done is we've done the different ways of choosing one shrub and one rose tree. Remember, the 17 is the different types of shrubs. So doing that calculations worked out the different types of rose trees, but because that's not a whole number, so number of rose trees is not a whole number. So therefore, Jeff is incorrect. Okay, so moving on to question 12. So you got a bit of ratios going on, got a video of ratios on the link above. So it's saying A, B, C, D are all points on a straight line in that order. So A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. Straight line like that. So ratio from A to B, B, A to B, B to D is 1 to 5. So that means A to B, 1, B to D, 5. Okay, so then it's saying A to C and then C to D, 7 to 11. Right, so the total of the first ratio is 6 when you add all the parts, and the second ratio is 18. So because you want to make them the same parts, we're going to multiply the first ratio by 3. So you're going to multiply all the parts by 3. So then 5 times 2 would be 15. 1 times 3 is 3. So now I'm going to give the new numbers. So the ratio is still the same. I've just multiplied them both by 3. So then it has the same total parts as the bottom ratio. So now that we have that, we know from C to, so it wants us to work out the ratio of A to B, B to C, C to D. So A to B, we've got 3. B to C, we don't know. And C to D, we've got 11. So we need to work out B to C. So we know from B to D, it's 15. From C to D, it's 11. So 15 take away 11 would be 4. So that would be 4. So because we know that that's 4, therefore the final answer is 3 to 4 to 11. Okay, so having a look at question 13. So we're now working out the inequalities of the shaded region. So in order to work out the inequalities, the 3 inequalities, notice how the shaded region is composed. It's been made up by 3 different lines. So it's going to help work out the equations for the 3 different lines. So if we have a look at this one first, if you look at all the points on this line, the x and the y values are the same. So I know that that one is y equals x. If we look at this other horizontal line where it's crossing y equals minus 2, I know that the line is y equals minus 2. And then for the other one, if we have a look at some of the points on it, so we've got 4, 3, we've got 6, 4. So in order to work out the gradient, remember it's changing y over changing x. So 4 minus 3 over 6 minus 4, so that'll be 1 over 2. So we know the gradient is 0.5. So y equals 0.5x plus c. So to work out what plus c is, just substitute one of the coordinates. I'll pick this one. So y is 4, x is 6. So then 4 is equal to 3 plus c, so c equals 1. So I know for that last equation, it's y is equal to 0.5x plus 1. So now to work out the inequalities now, if we look at the y is equal to x, the shaded region is showing that it is greater than y equals x. Because if we have a look at this graph, sorry, not greater than, less than, no, I'm confusing myself, greater than y. So it looks like it's greater than y equals x because it's showing on the greater side. So the first one, it will be y is greater than or equal to x. Then for the second one, I zoom out so you can see everything. For the second one, let's look at the y equals minus 2 because the shaded region is above that line. I know it's going to be y is greater than or equal to minus 2. And then for the last one, the y equals 0.5x plus 1, which was this line here. Notice how the shaded region is underneath the line. So because it's underneath, it's less than. So it'll be y is less than or equal to 0.5x plus 1. So the key trick to understanding inequalities when you're having to do a question like this is if your region is below the line, then it's less than. If it's above the line, it's more than. Okay, so have a look at question 14. So if we have a look at question 14, it wants us to simplify this equation that we have so far. So the first thing that we can do to simplify it is we're going to factorize both the top and the bottom. So the top one, if we factorize it, it would be x plus 4 times x minus 4. And the bottom one, if we gradually work this out, so it would be 2 bracket factorizing because it's a quadratic formula. Because the first part is 2x squared, so we know one of the brackets will have 2x, one of the other brackets will have x. We're trying to make sure that the two whole numbers at the end will multiply to make minus 12. So we need to think of all the ways of making minus 12, which you can have 3 times 4. So minus 3 times 4, minus 4 times 3. And then also you have to remember they have to add together to make minus 5x. We can have minus 6 times 2, minus 2 times 6. Okay, so having a look at this. Okay, so if we look at the 3 and the 4, if 3 was here, 4 was there, the 4 times the 2 would be 8. Okay, that could work because if we have minus 4 here, that would multiply to minus 8, but then the plus 3 would make minus 5. Oh, that worked. So trial and error of the different pairs works. So now we've got that. Notice how both top and the bottom of the fraction have x minus 4. So that would simplify to x plus 4 over 2x plus 3. Okay, and then if we look at part B, it wants us to make V the subject. So I've got a video on changing the subject to the formula in the link above. So let's do this gradually. So W is equal to 15 bracket T minus 2V over V. So the first thing I'll do is expand the brackets, which would be 15T minus 30V over V equals W. Then I would multiply both sides by V. So that would give me 15T minus 30V equals VW. Collect the V's together. So that'll be 15T equals VW plus 30V. Then factorize. So 15T equals VW plus 30. And then because we want V as the subject, divide both sides by W plus 30. Which that would give you your final answer. Okay, so moving on. So question 15, it's area of a triangle, and notice how this triangle doesn't look right angle because it doesn't have the box inside. So basically because it's an area of a triangle, it's not right angle, we're going to be focusing on this formula, half AB sine C, which we have a video in the link above, and I did it with sine rule and cosine rule as well. So looking at this, it's given us the area of the triangle, which is 6 root 2. It wants us to work out what x is. So if we know that this is the formula, remember A and B represent the two lengths, and then the C is the angle. So I'm going to substitute everything in. So half times, so A, which is 2x minus 1, B, which is x plus 3, and then sine 45 is equal to 6 root 2. Sine 45 from memorizing, because remember you have to learn your sine 30, sine 90, sine 45 and sine 0. So sine 45 is equivalent to root 2 over 2. So I'm going to substitute that in. Okay, so the first thing is we're going to expand the brackets. And expanding the brackets would leave us with 2x squared minus x plus 6x minus 3. So then that would simplify into plus 5x minus 3. And then that is multiplied by half times root 2 over 2. And multiplying them two together would leave you with root 2 over 4 is equal to 6 root 2. So now the next step is that after we've now expanded everything, what I would do next is you want to get rid of that denominator of root 4. So multiply both sides by 4. And that's going to end up getting rid of this denominator. So then the other side will change into 24 root 2. So then now you've got 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 multiplied by root 2. And then because you've got the root 2 on both sides, that can cancel out as well. So then that would leave you with 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 is equal to 24. So then we want to make it equal to 0 and take away 24 on both sides. So 2x squared plus 5x minus 27 is equal to 0. And then we want to, so in this scenario, because it's saying 3 significant figures, we're not going to factorize because factorize would give us whole numbers. So if it's 3 significant figures, we are going to use quadratic formula, which I also have in the link above or the description box down below. So quadratic formula, remember the formula is x is equal to minus b plus or minus root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So we're just going to substitute our a, b, and c in. So based on the quadratic that we have, a is 2, b is 5, c is minus 27. Substitute that all in, it would be minus 5 squared plus or minus root 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times minus 27 over 4. So that would, if you put that into your calculator, remember for this, you're going to end up two answers because you're going to work it out where you add the root and work it out where you minus the root. So when you add the root, you should get an answer of 2.63. When you minus the root, it should be 5.13. So because you're working out just the value of x, and because with length, you can't have a negative length. So really and truly, the only answer for the value of x is 2.63. Okay, so moving on to question 16. So having a look at this question, it wants us to have a look at, so it has x n plus 1 is equal to minus 2 minus 4 over n squared n. Okay, so having a look at this. So it wants us to work out the values of when x is 1, x is 2, and x is 3. So x is 1 is where we know x is 0 is minus 2.5. So x is 1 would be minus 2 minus 4 over 2.5. Minus 2.5. Remember that's squared. Put that into your calculation, you get minus 2.64. Then for x is 2, it's going to be minus 2 minus 4 over your answer for x is 1, which is minus 2.64 squared, is equal to minus 2.57392128. And then for x is 3, it would be minus 2.6037672555. Okay, so putting that all in for your answers. So because it says find the exact values, literally every number you get on your calculator puts that in as your final answer. Okay, and then for the part B, it says explain the relationship between the values of x1, x2, x3, and the equation x cubed plus 2x squared plus 4 is equal to 0. So the relationship is that all these values, they're all estimates to the solution. So normally, the higher you go, so x4, x5, you get more of an accurate answer to the correct value of x. So they are estimates of the solution to x cubed, plus 2x squared plus 4 equals 0. And the reason why is because you're probably wondering, but this does not look the same as that, which I do understand. But if we have a look at the x cubed plus 2x squared plus 4 is equal to 0, if we were to rearrange this to make it x is equal to, you would get, so x cubed plus 2x squared would be equal to minus 4. Then x cubed plus 2x. If we now factorize it, we would get x bracket x squared plus 2 is equal to minus 4. And then if we were to make x is equal to, it will be x is equal to minus 4 divided by x squared plus 2. So minus 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. That would be minus 2. And then the minus 4 over x squared, that would be that simplified. So notice that that's the same as what we have above. And so that's why they are all estimates of the formula x cubed plus 2x squared plus 4 is equal to 0. And showing that rearrangement would give you a mark for that as well. Okay, so moving on. Not got long left, guys. Literally 4 questions left. So question 17. So it says a train travelled along a track in 110 minutes. Correct the nearest 5 minutes. So Jake finds out that the track is 270 kilometers long. So assume that the track has been measured, correct to the nearest 10 kilometers. So could the average of the speed of the train have been greater than 160 kilometers per hour? Well, let's have a look. So the average speed of the train. So if we look at, so we know if we draw the formula triangle. So speed equals distance divided by time. So average speed would be total distance. So put distance over time. And so because of that, in terms of the total distance, it's 270 kilometers. However, we know that it says that the distance has been measured correct to the nearest 10 kilometers. So to the nearest 10 kilometers, that means the distance could be 200 and, so it could be anywhere between 275 to 265. And for the time, it was 110 minutes. But the time could be, because it was to the nearest 5 minutes, it could be anywhere between 112.5 to 107.5 minutes. And to work out the up and down of it, the upper and lower bound, it's whatever it's the nearest to divided by 2. So divide them both by 2. You get 2.5 and you get 5. And then add that to the average and take that away to the average. So that would be up and down of 5. Now be up of 2.5 minus of 2.5. That's how you work out the upper and lower bounds. So then to now work out the average speed, because it's saying that could the average speed have been greater than 160 kilometers per hour? Well, to work out, if you want to work out if it's greater than 160, you're going to use the highest distance divided by the smallest time, which was 107.5 minutes. So we need to convert the time into hours because it's kilometers per hour. And so to do that, you're going to do 107.5 divided by 60 in your calculator, which should get 1.7916 recurring. And so put into your calculator 275 over 1.7916 recurring, you should get an answer of 153.48, so on. So looking at this value is not greater than 160. And this is the highest average speed that we could possibly have using the maximum distance in the smallest time. And so therefore, because of that, no. The average speed could not be over 160 kilometers per hour. So Jake's assumption was wrong. The track was measured correct to the 5 kilometers. Explain how this could affect your answer. So if it's to the nearest 5 kilometers, that means our range for our track would actually be from, so 5 divided by 2 is 2. So it would be add 2.5. sorry, it's 2.5. Add 2.5 would be 272.5. Take away 2.5 would be 267.5. So that would be our range. But realistically, looking at our range, since Jack is wrong, then definitely it's not going to affect my decision in part A, because that means that the highest distance is even less than what we thought it was. And so if it's less, then therefore your average speed is even going to be lower. So no, because the upper bound of the distance is lower. So therefore, maximum average speed would be lower. And so therefore it would nowhere reach 160 kilometers per hour. Okay, so looking at question 18, it wants us to work out the arc length. Got a video up above of arc length and area of a sector. So let's have a look at what we are dealing with. So it says work out the arc length ABC. Remember, arc length is part of the circumference. So it wants us to work out that arc length. But in order to do that, we need to do this bit by bit. So first things first, we've got two tangents which are meeting. Whenever two tangents meet, we know that tangent touching a circle is a right angle. We know when the two tangents meet, if we split in half, the distances in that triangle are the same. So if that bit is 5 centimeters, and it says D to O is 9. Okay, great. So the first things first is that we want to work out the length here. So we want to work out what that missing length is. So if I draw this out, 5, 9, question mark, how we are going to work that out, and it's of a right angle triangle, is, so first of all, the formula for arc length is you're working out your circumference, which is 2 pi r times the angle, so theta over 360. So in order to work this out, we need to work out what the radius is, which is told us is 5, but we don't know what the angle is of that arc. So the angle of the arc is this here. We don't know what the angle is, so we need to work that out. So in order to work out what the angle is, by splitting it up into the two right angles, we can rub that out. So by working out what the angle here is, x, we can definitely work out the other angle because they're the same. So we call that x. So we've got angles, we've got lengths. So to work out what x is, we can use secateurin. So the right angles with length and angles, secateurin. So we need to label our secateurin. So h is the 9, o is the opposite, which is here, and a is the 5. We know what a is, and we know what h is, so we're going to use those to work out the angle. So because we're dealing with a and h, we're dealing with cos. So cos x, because we don't know what x is equal to a, which is 5, over h, which is 9. So work out what x is. Remember with secateurin, when you're working out the angle, you need to work inverse. You need to use inverse cos or inverse sine or inverse tan. Inverse, aka cos to the -1, which there's a button on your calculator. So if you press, if there's not one on your specific calculator, then to use it, doing a Casio, press shift, then cos. So you press shift and press cos, then you'd have cos -1, and then an open brackets, then put in 5 over 9 as the fraction, and your answer should give you 56.2510114. So then now we know what the angle is. Remember, we know that the total angle of the arc is going to be the two x's added together, so basically that times 2, which should be 112.50202228. So now, because we've worked out what that massive part is, the ABC, is not where I've initially drawn in black. A, B, C, always follow it in order of the letters. It's going to be the red part. So in order to work out that angle, because we need that angle to work out the arc length, we're going to need to do 360 divided by the 112.5 ... that we worked out. So if you did 360, take away the 112.502, so on, into your calculator, you should get 247.4979772. And by doing that now, we've worked out the angle. So now using the formula of the arc length, we can actually work out what the arc length is. So it will be 2 times pi times 5, because that's the radius, times the 247.4, so on, over 360. Obviously, put the full thing into your calculator, and you should, to 3 significant figures, you should get an answer of 21.6 centimeters. Okay, so moving on to question 19. So question 19, it wants us to solve this. So because it's solving, it's not asking for the significant figures and decimal places, then therefore to work out the values of x, we're going to factorize. So if we were to factorize this, so it'll be a double bracket factorizing because it's a quadratic formula. One bracket would have 2x, the other bracket would have x. We need to think of different ways of multiplying to make minus 2's. So not much option, which is good. So minus 2 times 1 or minus 1 times 2. So let's try it with minus 1 and 2. So that would give us minus x, that would give us plus 4. So minus x plus 4 is equal to plus 3x. Okay, first attempt and we got it. Honestly, luck. Right, even if you didn't get it first attempt, you would just try with the other pair, see if you would get it. So minus 1 plus 2. Okay, so now that we have that, we factorize, we can solve the values of x. So to actually work out the values of x, we would need to, so each bracket would be equal to 0, because, so 2x minus 1 equal to 0. So 2x would be equal to 1, x would be equal to a half for the first bracket, and then if x plus 2 is equal to 0, x would be equal to minus 2. So because it's what's greater than 0, I'm going to draw a sketch of a quadratic. So the 2 points are when x is equal to a half and x is minus 2. So because it is a positive quadratic, it would look something like this. So because we're looking at the values of when the whole equation, aka y, is greater than 0, so if it's greater than 0 for y, because remember our y-axis, all the values of y greater than 0 is in the upper part, so it would be here and here. Then for the half bit, we want where x is greater than a half. And for the minus 2, we want where x is less than minus 2. So that is how you help to work out which inequalities. As here, if it's higher than that number, like if the graph bit, because it's showing greater, and so all the values here are above, so that'll be 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. They're all values greater than half. That's why the inequality is great. X is greater than a half, whereas for the other one, it would cover all the values of x that are less than minus 2, and that's why that inequality is x is less than minus 2. Okay, and sketching that is the best way to know how to get the arrows, not arrows, sorry, how to get the less than or greater than correct. Okay, so moving on to question 20. So question 20, this is actually our last page, guys. Well done for making it this far if you did. So it's given us an equation of a graph. This is a exponential graph. Any letter or number to the power of x, exponential. So we've got an exponential graph. So exponential graphs look like this. They go up. And it says A is a point where the curve intersects the y-axis, so this would be A. So to work out the points of A, we know on the y-axis x is equal to 0. So if y is equal to A and we substitute x for 0, A to the power of 0, anything to the power of 0 is 1. So that coordinate will be 0, 1. And then for the last question of this paper, it's given us the equation of a circle, so I'm going to sketch that. So of the circle, we know the center would be 0, 0 because the x and the y tell us the center. And what is equal to tells us it's equal to the radius squared. So to work out the radius, it would be square root of 16, which is 4. So if our radius is 4, radius of the circle is 4. And it says that circle C is translated by a factor 3, 0 to give circle B. So remember vectors, the number at the top is your x, the number at the bottom represents your y, which means it's going to move along 3 in the x direction, and it's not going to move along at all in the y direction. So I'm going to draw my new circle B. So if it's moving 3, that would be 7. That would be, so here, rather than crossing at -4, if you add 3 onto that, it will cross at -1. And then the y bit is not going to change. So, and then the new center would be the coordinate 3, 0. So then my new circle would look something like this. Let me actually draw that again, because the y bit has not changed, so it's still going to hit that y is 4 and y is -4. So very bad circle, but you get what I mean. So now it's being translated. I don't know why this one looks bigger, but the whole point, okay, we're going to draw this again. Art is not my forte, apologies. So, okay, there we go, something like that. All right, so now it's being translated along. Obviously, this is not drawn to scale, guys, please. This is just to visualize it to help you understand. So it says draw a sketch of circle B, which I have now. I've drawn a sketch of circle B. You can either draw it on a separate graph, so you can create a new graph for it, or you can draw it on the same graph. Either way, they would give you the marks for it, as long as you label that as your circle B. So -1, center at 3, 7, still crosses at 4, -4. Sorry, -4, 4. So this is my circle, circle B. I've just drawn it on a separate graph and on the same graph, so you can see that both of the answers are the same. You don't need to do both. You can do either one. And then next thing is, so next thing is that it says that it wants us to label with coordinates the center, which we've done. So you just write the full coordinate 3, 0. And it says any points of intersection. So that would be 7, 0. And then notice that because it's now shift, it's not actually going to hit directly at 0, -4. It will be like another negative number 0. So we don't exactly know that point of intersection, but it's fine because we don't even need to work out, because it's saying any points of intersection with the x-axis. So it's not asking for the y-axis one. So you don't need to work out the point here and work out. You don't need to work out this one and this one. You just need to work out this, and this, because that one, the middle blue one, is for the center and the other point. So we've got 7, 0 and then 1, 0. And that's it. So these are the 3 coordinates they would want for the 3 marks. And see the marks there. Okay, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope that was really useful, and stay tuned for more content.